let me put it into three parts. One, in the R&D part. So we are really looking at technologies from the perspective of how to cut down the cycle time of the product development while not compromising. So some of the important digital and some of the important simulated solutions that we are looking at is to club the chemistry innovations with the kind of artificial intelligence driven approach to chemistry. Then we are also looking at the fermentation and enzyme technologies, not from the classical way, but we are trying to look at actually bringing the simulations and trying to look at the gene synthesis and then trying to actually understand better how the fermentations and enzymes will happen. So I think there's a second part. And the third very important part we are trying to look at is how do you really automate the laboratory management practices. When I talk about the laboratory management practices, how are you using a eLab notebook? Most of the time people use eLab notebook as more of a data management notebook. As against that, we are trying to look at this as how this data can be, a learning and a development platform for the people who join you, for the people who actually enter into an organization from different companies, and also it helps the people within the company to enhance themselves whenever they are starting a new product development or a new process development. I think overall it's a very different approach that we are trying to bring in. Some way to go, but I think we see a lot of benefit and advantage of bringing these new ways of thinking and new technologies into product development. So when we say the digital laboratory, there are two ways of looking at the regulatory compliance. Okay, the first, most of the time, the regulatory compliance is what you actually transfer the products and processes from the laboratory into the manufacturing. That's where the huge concerns that do come in today, and we see a lot of news about the regulatory non-compliances, and these are the outcome of ineffective processes which are getting transferred from the R&D to manufacturing, or ineffective analytical methods, or lack of understanding of the products and processes. How digital will enable you to happen? The first one is that when you bring the digital approaches into the overall product development, you are not looking at a small portion of the problem, but you are trying to solve the whole rather than some of it. And what I mean by that is that in formulation development or in chemical development of APIs or intermediates, the way you look at the product development will have several solutions coming together, and you are choosing the best solution even before you start your first experiment. Similarly, in the analytical method, the way the digital solutions will come will actually enable you to make minimum mistakes and send very accurate methods of analysis to the manufacturing facility. And the third one, when you do a lot of failure study, what we call it as what if study, the digital will enable you to pick up the golden batches. There's a concept called a golden batch concept in the laboratory also. Most of the time it is seen from a manufacturing perspective, but when you actually bring it into the laboratory, there is what are your golden batches that you have built in the laboratory, either through statistical way of quality by design or your classical way of development, but using some digital approaches. So use the digital approaches to pick up the golden batches and trying to understand what are the best process conditions and what are the best analytical conditions which will enable you to actually get the right product and the right process into manufacturing. I think this will really enable you to be first regulatory compliant, and second will become economically very effective. Are we really there in terms of really on a scale of 0 to 10? In Granules, we may be traveling at 4 or 5. Others would have traveled 7, 8. But I think the journey in this direction will really enable you to become a leader in the process by product development. So I think this is a very public information every quarter we give. And Granules, we are more focused on transforming the organization through science, technology, and innovation. I think this has been our tagline for the last 4 quarters, or ever since we have rethought about the strategy. So our focus is more on science, technology, innovation, and enabling us to get products which are far better, far superior than others in terms of the way we look at the overall product development, manufacturing, time to launch, and the value creation to our customers. As I spoke in the meeting, the way we see analytical is a heart of now the future technologies in the manufacturing, because when we talk about continuous flow manufacturing, or when we are talking about manufacturing engineering excellence of any order, analytical becomes the heart, and the accurate analytical method and the way we discussed is that, do you really need a QC? Okay, so I think these are the thought provoking and thought leadership questions. At some point of time, maybe the analytical will progress to such a high level that we all become too very online, and probably you will almost eliminate, if not completely, you should be able to eliminate the entire analysis in the whole process. It also enables you to actually bring in a lot of safety, a lot of quality, because today if you see, a lot of issues are because of manual interventions. And if you become very advanced in the analytical, my guess, educated guess, let me put it this way, is that tomorrow the way you really look at manufacturing is going to be very different, where there are no people in the manufacturing, there are no people to do the analysis in the manufacturing, and there are no people to release the batches, but everything goes online, and your quality will be several notches higher as compared to what it will be today. Your regulatory compliance will be several notches higher, and your safety record will be the best in the industry. I think this is how one should look at the transformation of analytical being at the fulcrum of the entire industry transformation.